Well, everybody's got some things they got to do, so let's go ahead and I'll call the meeting to order. Turn it over to Richard.
All right, if you turn over to page 35, and I'm gonna invite Chief Faulkner up here. Don't let him talk to you first. I did most of the work on this portion of the budget, so I'll let him sort of fill you in on some of the things he's looking at.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm try break it down a little bit different. I'm not going to go line by line because there's no need to do that. You can ask me as you will if whatever you want is what you're seeing. What I did want to do is say that what you have in front of you shows a $545,000 increase. However, what I want to make sure that I'm specific with is with that increase, if you take that 545, the vehicles that we're asking for, which is 260,000, even though it shows in that budget, we would not be paying for that. So really the increase is not 545,000, it's 285 because we wouldn't be paying that in this budget year. We had a $550,000 loan 4 years ago for the in-car cameras, body cams. So I've told council every year what we do, what we wanted to get to is about $220,000 to $250,000 in vehicles per year. I've went through that multiple times. We're at the point now from when I started here that as we do one loan goes off, one loan goes on. So it's kind of, we're looking at the vehicle part as being a steady amount that will be year after year, and there shouldn't be much of a flux or increase at that point. Vehicle fleet, so you know, we're in dire hardship with the vehicle fleet. If we're fully staffed, we have 4 spare vehicles. Those spare vehicles are all donated vehicles, and those donated vehicles are in dire straits. In fact, one of them, the transmission's already going out. Those came from Georgia, Ohio, and then Wilmington. We got 2 from Wilmington, and they're basically at the end of their life. So we have no real reserve fleet. So that's why we need the vehicles, which again, that payment won't come in until later. Then.
So when you say later, what do you mean by later?
That would be next budget year. So that next budget year. So we would purchase the vehicles this year. However, the loan does not start until the next budget year.
It's not, okay.
So the loan that we have for the 550,000 comes off next year's budget, and these vehicles would come in. However, it would be a much lower payment than we're paying for the 550,000. It's half of that for next year.
And would there be additional car purchases next year?
Every year we anticipate at minimum. So if you have a fleet of 30, it's kind of, I know I don't have my PowerPoint here this year.
I remember us going through this, but just so I understand that there'll never be a year where you're paying for double the.
No. Every year now, we'll do 3 or 4 vehicles, depending on what the fleet need is. And 3 or 4 vehicles will come out of the fleet, and 3 or 4 more vehicles will come on. And it's a loan that basically, it comes off now. We're at the point where we started this 4 years ago, and it starts to come off like next year. That loan ends, that term ends, and we'll have a new loan term come in. And so it should stay pretty flatlined at this point.
I'm a little, I'm not following you on this thing.
Okay.
If we got 4 vehicles that we won't be paying for this year, and yet we're going to be going in purchasing 4, and we'll purchase 4 next year, how are we just paying for 4 at a time?
So that was confusing what you just said. So every year we're going to get a loan for vehicles. That's what council's decided to do in the past. And every year you do a 4-year loan. At the 4th year, one term goes off, one comes on. we're gonna end up asking for vehicles every year. We have to. There's just no choice in that. And so as one term ends, a new term begins. So it's kind of a wash, right? One term ends for one loan, but a new term starts for another. So it's kind of a wash.
You'll borrow the money in the 26-27 budget, which will be $260,000. Your first payment on that loan
Is the next
be
year.
Until the 27-28.
So it's in this year's budget because we're borrowing this year, but the payment doesn't start until the.
Right. It shows there, but the reality is it's asking for the 260 for the loan.
Mhm.
However, we're not making a payment in this year's budget.
Yeah, for those 4
So
loans.
we're not making a payment now for cars
We do.
that we purchased last year.
Yes.
But you're wanting to be clear, that's not an additional loan that's due this year.
Right.
So the ones we're paying for this year are gonna come off as we have the next payment coming in, is that?
So every year we've done 3 to 4 vehicles, right? I wish I had a chart in front. So my goal, and I told you all this, every year, I believe, is to get to 220,000 to 250,000 in vehicles every year. If we have 30 vehicles, if you don't replace your 3 to 4, you end up with vehicles that are 12 to 13 years old. I did the whole maintenance, and I can come back if I need to, because I still have that PowerPoint and present it. We end up with 4 loans, right? So if you have 4 years that you've done loans, you end up with 4 years of loans. But at the 4th year, one loan comes off, a new one comes on, right? So it rotates off. So this is our 4th year of doing vehicle loans. One will come off next year and a new one will come on. The year after that, one will come off, a new one will come on. And so it will stay a steady 4-year progression unless we decide to buy them outright. And that would be paying $260,000 in cash every year. And that, of course, always becomes contention.
Look on page 40. You've got 3 loans currently.
Mhm.
The first one there at the top is the $580,000 loan he's talking about. Now, that loan will be paid off in August.
Mhm.
So after the 26-27 budget year, that loan's gone.
And that's $150,000 loan we pay per year,
So
which is gone next year.
So the loan you take out in the 26-27 budget replaces that loan, but your first payment doesn't become due until the 27-28 budget year. So you're not doubling up on your loan payment. You're still
Yeah.
keeping that.
You're just trying to create a schedule for replacement plus cost certainty.
That's right.
And you got 2 other loans that go off in 2028. So as you get into that 27-28 budget year, you'll have, your loan payments will be fairly standard. They won't change that much from year to year. You'll still have 3 loans probably at a time, but that, as Chief said, one will fall off and you add another one, so that kind of equals out. So you're not seeing a huge jump every year. And
Right, we'll just see the steady increase as things become more expensive.
Yeah.
There'll be some increase year to year, but not.
And you're actually gonna see the loan go down because that first loan, the loan every year after has been about vehicles. The first loan was about body cams and in-car cams that we didn't have. So we had the cars and body cams and in-car cams on one loan. Well, we won't be getting that loan again. It will just be cars. So next year, when we look at this and that one payment comes off and the new payment comes on, that payment's going to be for $260,000 loan compared to the $550,000 loan. So your loan payment's going to be cut down from $150,000 to $75,000 next year. That's in next year's budget.
If you look at looking at the bottom of page 40, if you get your debt, principal, interest, and so forth, if you wanted to run that on out, it would just look the same.
Yep,
Yeah, pretty much.
yep,
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the idea.
yep.
And if you look on page 40, everything's duplicated there at the bottom and just, there's just something strange about the software.
It's hard, it's
And I
hard.
hadn't figured out how to get it out of there twice,
But,
so.
but the numbers are accurate for the
Yeah.
totals.
Right. It's just hard to explain the $260,000 is in the budget, but it's not actually something we're actually paying, right? Until next year. So it doesn't, I've had to explain that to Deputy Chief Kuhn as well, you know, trying to show the chart of, it's just how the bank loan works. So,
So Richard, maybe this is a question for Richard, is kind of overall, if we were looking at the, you know, our gap here, you know, is that 260 part of that? Even though we don't need to pay the 260, like,
Now, if you'll turn back to page 12. And about the fifth or sixth line item on that page is called debt proceeds. So you're gonna borrow $260,000, and this is showing that $260,000 coming into your budget. And the same $260,000 shows up on the expenditure side.
okay, so it's washed, it's like.
No, it's a wash. So if you take that, you don't gain any.
I thought I found
savings.
this $260,000.
That's hard.
so kind of going back, so it shows that we're asking for 545 increase, 545,000 minus that 260 for cars is actually 285,000. Now, what I want to point out and make sure that you understand is we also, our LEO retirement fee has gone up. So we have no control over that, right? That's regulated by the state. Insurance has gone up. We have no control over that. That's also controlled by the state. And then our separation, meaning our retirements. So we've had multiple retirements. We're going to have multiple this year, most likely. And so that number is $93,000 that we can't control, which means our actual budget increase is $192,000 that we're in control of. Now, I will also say RMS CAD, right? I've talked about RMS CAD for 3 years. That first payment comes in this year. That of course it does. It hits this year. I've been talking about it for 3 years, but it's like, oh my God. That's 127. So you take the 260 from cars, the 93,000 from retirement separation and insurance, and then the RMS CAD 127,000. We're really only requesting $65,000 increase out of what we can control. And that comes into your fuel costs, your software cost increase, different things like that. So budget wise, over our actual control and what we are asking for to increase is the fuel costs and the cost of the consumer. I always say, I'm not just saying this to you, but you know, gas is $3 last year. Now it's $5 or $4.50. But my cheeseburger was 69 and now it's $1.50. We're paying those costs in all the supplies that we get. And if we don't increase with that cost, that's really going negative for us. And obviously, I understand you all are going to have to make difficult choices this year. I'm just emphasizing that if we don't move with the cost of the economy, we're actually taking a budget loss on top of that. So that's basically the basis of our, I'm not asking for any personnel. There's no personnel increase request in here. I didn't ask for personnel last year either, and don't anticipate I'll be asking for personnel next year. However, I will say that my personnel is, I've said we're short staffed and we've lost 3 since we've changed out of the building, and morale's not high. I can tell you that. I understand you all have very difficult decisions, but I will say you're on the paradigm of very difficult decisions, especially for public safety. And I say that to include fire and police because the atmosphere within our agencies, not being in a building, not getting a raise is not easy to manage.
looking at the personnel, look here, I see, we've got what, 5 vacancies?
So we have 5 vacancies, but we've offered 3 positions. So we're hoping to be down to 2 vacancies in the next within month.
How many, and so this is vacancies, has that been persistent for months or for all years? We've always had vacancies.
No.
When was the last time we didn't have vacancies?
So really December's when the vacancies started occurring with the retirements. We've always been full staffed. What I will say is already with our vacancies, I'm 100%. There's a difference in proactive policing and reactive policing, right? We saw that in Asheville. In Asheville, their crime spiked tremendously because their policing went down. We've already seen our crime in property and persons crime spike this year due to vacancies. And the vacancies started, we had 2 retirements, and then we've had 3 people leave since the new building or the building debacle, whatever you want to call it.
So the vacancies, so we were fully staffed for the fiscal year from July through December.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
There could have been 1 or 2. We could have had 1 that left, and then we had 2 or 3 months where there was a hiring for, until we were able to hire somebody.
Where did the spiking occur? Where did these facts, these figures that you're talking about, when did this occur?
It's started to occur since January, since we've seen our less officers, less staff, less people patrolling, less proactivity, more reactivity. Right now, we've been working with 2 officers per shift. And if you have 1 that makes an arrest, they're gone for 3 or 4 hours in the town. And sometimes we only have 1 in the town. And so, at that point, we make sure that they're more reactive instead of proactive, right? We kind of have to take away doing traffic stops, different things so that we can respond to the domestic violence call, different things like that.
And this, when you see this spiking, any particular figures that you can put with that?
I
mean, I know
can.
you say that
Yeah.
it's spiking.
No, I can
Now
definitely.
that you're saying that it's spiked, but I mean,
Yeah.
a spike of 1 or 2 is the same as a spike of 50 or 100. So I'm just trying to get a handle so that. when
Yeah,
people
I can do
ask
that.
me, because we're the ones responsible.
Yeah. Oh, well, ultimately, I'm responsible too. So, I know we're all responsible for public safety.
Yeah, you get those figures. That
yeah.
that would be
Yep.
helpful, please. Thank you.
Yep.
What is full staffing? What is your full times?
28 with officers and administration. We have 1 administrator and then 27. Any other questions regarding our budget?
When, going back best you can with memory, when's the last time you added a new officer position?
It's been 3 years. No, I take that back. I did forget about the SRO position, but that was 60% paid through the school system. So I did forget about that position.
Last year.
That was last year. And then we didn't ask for anybody the year before. So it was prior to that. When we're fully staffed, I feel confident about our staff being able to handle the public safety calls that we have. It's just when we're short staffed, it's very difficult. And that was one of the reasons when the first year I got here, we put 2 on night shift, 2 on day shift, and we saw a tremendous, I gave those numbers. We've seen a 50% reduction in property crime and violent crime since we added those staff members.
Our other municipalities in the county, but exclude Ashland, it's a little bit different animal, but are they able to staff up?
Staffing is super difficult.
No, that's my understanding.
It is, it's the number 1 out of the IACP, North Carolina. The number 1 issue we're having is not just retaining the staff, but we used to get 50 applicants for one position. Now we get 1 or 2 applicants and they're not necessarily qualified.
That's statewide.
It is statewide. It's national. It's national.
I'm touching on Buncombe County's fees on page 37.
Okay. Yeah. So,
PCF and all that.
yeah, so you know, we have the new RMS CAD that we're talking about, but we also, and again, I can say that I've discussed this with you all in the past, and we had the IT manager come in, but we're paying 88,000 for PSIP, which is IT support for the software, and then we're paying 32,000 is what I think it's supposed to be for prisoner processing fees. I am working diligently with them to reduce these fees because I don't necessarily agree with the cost of those fees. And had a meeting a week ago, and all the way to the managers, to where I am fighting back on some of these fees and the cost for them to what they mean to the citizens. But those are some things that are a constant yearly fee that they have said they're going to increase. However, I've pushed back very hard on that.
So there's, these fees are presented to every municipality in the county as part of that collaboration, but there's not a consistent structure for that or transparency around where those numbers are coming from, or do you know how this is being determined by the county? Are they sharing?
So they are letting us know what the fees are, but sometimes they're late in the budget. However, I will say that usually when I've been involved in things with this, you have a board, and the board is involving municipalities, the county, and they come into agreements on the costs of these things together. And I think that we're in agreement that that's how it needs to move forward. However, that's kind of not necessarily how it's been in the past.
So advocacy is happening in a different
Is.
forum.
It is
Okay.
very much so.
Thank you for being involved in
And
that.
you got other
conversation.
participants in the system that aren't paying anything.
Really?
See,
Like, who would that be?
So you have, I'll blow it up here. So Montreat and Biltmore Forest are not part of the RMS CAD system, right? So they don't have the same software system. So they're not being charged to process prisoners. And then you have State Highway Patrol, UNC Asheville Airport, Probation and Parole, ALE, that are not paying the same fees. This is in discussion as,
No, they're paying the same fees. We're paying their fees.
yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. And it is, I wrote a very long and detailed email to them about this approximately a week ago. But definitely advocating for the town, and the town making sure that it's receiving the fairness to all the citizens. However, you get dealt a hand, and sometimes you have to make sure that you're playing with the hand that you have, and we need RMS CAD from the county. Any other questions?
And you, page 37, when you look at the PSIP fee, you got Buncombe County PSIP 88,000, then you go down to 4 lines and it's Buncombe County PSIP 5% increase.
Unless it's duplicated again, and it should only be in there one time. There's
On
just
the
2 or 3
line.
places in this budget
This
where
town
I actually
manager.
duplicated the same
There
thing.
should have been a line between those.
it's just like a duplicate
It's a
description.
duplicate description, so.
Okay.
And I can't figure out how to get it out of there yet, so.
But it's not duplicate in the numbers. in the totals.
Right.
And you
Yeah,
mentioned.
your total's right. The 205,000, right? You just got a duplication in the description below there.
And you mentioned in there about this, officer at the schools, the county was paying 60%, are they still paying 60%?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's
You
budget.
have somebody else in training right now. Did you say you have someone else in training for that?
No, no, the person that's in the school is out on baby leave, FMLA. They'll be back in.
Is that position included in your 28?
Yes, sir.
And on the funding side, we showed those funds coming into the budget, so.
Oh, from the county?
Yeah.
Where that was.
Yeah.
That'll be from Buncombe County School District.
And you got Buncombe County Animal Control. We also paid for the animal control services. I think that's they had $34,000, so.
Anything else? All right.
I would just add at the back, page 39, we still have to do something with the range. The chief did ask for $35,000 there. I took that out. We are still dealing with FEMA to get them to pay as much of that cost as possible. So,
And when you say we are, is that our support at Land to Sky doing?
Yeah.
Right,
Not man, staff, Matt.
Yeah.
right.
So currently, is there somewhere where y'all are going?
We are
View of-
we are begging and borrowing monthly for SWAT training, and we're begging and borrowing for our firearms training every year. Monthly. It's difficult.
It's not a long-term solution. but y'all are staying
Yeah,
up
we are
to
making it,
speed.
yes, we have no choice. If we don't, we have to qualify 4 times a year, and if we don't, then we can't maintain our certification.
That's the problem is FEMA paid to fix the existing range, but it actually needs to be relocated. So, so we're still having those discussion with FEMA.
So it's not a no for them to pitch in for it to be relocated. We just haven't gotten to a conclusion with that.
Right.
Conversation.
And you may want to explain how it needs to be shifted to a different.
Yeah, we're just changing it, going up the hill. It's just basically shifting the location. And I will say we were trying to work to where we could trade dirt to try to get it for free. So we've been doing everything we can to try to, help the taxpayers and however, we negotiated for a while on whether we could change dirt, and the guy who was the contractor said he would do it, and then he ghosted us. So he disappeared. So I guess he decided he didn't want the dirt for the amount of work that it was going to be. So, however, we have got the pricing and everything for it and submitted it to FEMA. Whether FEMA adopts it or not, we'll find
You
out.
said that he was gonna get the dirt. You're digging out a new hole. You need digging out a new bank.
It would have
The reservoir.
It wouldn't have been out of the reservoir. It would have been from the mountain to the side of it. Of course, we would have asked for approval. We wouldn't have just done that, but we were looking at what can we do to reduce costs, and where that would have been from.
What does it cost? What cost? What are we asking?
So total, I want to say that we believe we can do just moving the range at 60,000.
I think to grade it out, the cheapest that we got to just grade it, and switch it was 55,000 plus, the cost of actually having,
Targets.
Yeah. Actually have to be doing the target line with, we priced for several different options. But I think it was like the cheapest we found was like 15,000 for new targets, target system we can actually use up there once we switch it, because we we'd have to redo it, the target line, because you can't reuse the old target line.
And we were even looking at phasing it where if we have to, if FEMA doesn't do what we need whenever, at phasing it, at first we go ahead and grade it and get it in, then the next year we maybe ask for the target line, you know, so it's just, we're looking at all options that are the best and smartest for everybody.
So maybe I've missed it. How do we get to 35? Because I heard 55 and then
There was,
additional fees.
yeah,
That's for the pool.
that's for full everything's. For the grading itself is 55, then the 15 is the target line. So, and then there is insurance proceeds already, and I can't remember the exact price, Matt. Do you remember? There's some insurance proceeds for that could assist us as well, but just not enough for us to start the project at this point.
So it's the insurance proceeds that bring it down to 35?
Uh,
Are y'all understanding this?
Yeah, how'd you come up?
Yeah.
with the
oh,
30?
so the 35, I think, is part of the insurance. So that is not part of the insurance. If I had the insurance proceeds in addition with it, then I would be able to complete the changing of the line. I wouldn't have been able to add the targets. However, I would have been able to first phase,
This is just the physical.
but we took that out of the budget.
I understand.
Okay. Sorry.
That's right.
I'm just taking a glance at that. Is that on this sheet somewhere?
It should be in the man.
Matt, the, range on the sheet somewhere.
I think we're asking FEMA to change it to an improved project.
Yes, sir.
Which
Because of
means
the
they'll pay
relocation.
to make it better, but that's a completely different timetable.
It's gonna be an improved process.
Process.
That means it's gonna conform with what the feds want as far as going ahead and being able to remove the lead.
Yes, sir.
Any idea what the cost of that is?
I do not.
Anybody else?
So on
mean, yeah.
this sheet, I guess I'm just trying to, you don't have this in front of you. Shooting range, engineering and construction. And the number is like a little less than 20,000.
That's what FEMA
That's
allocates.
FEMA, okay.
Yeah. That much we can't do.
Not gonna get us there.
I mean, mind if you want to keep with the old range, but I don't think that meets our needs.
Mhm.
All right, any more questions? I'm on the police budget. All right, thank you. All right, Jamie, you want to come on down? Jamie. All right, starting on page 44 is the Public Works Administration. Budget, you basically have three people in this budget, which is the Public Works Director, the Assistant Public Works Director, and the Administrative Assistant. And again, one half of these salaries are paid for in the general fund and one half are paid for
Of each.
funds, so. In this budget, once you get past retirement and social security, and insurance and all that, we don't have any significant budget items in this budget. It just basically covers most of the administrative expenses for that office. So, you got your water, sewer and repair, maintenance of building, office supplies, and that's pretty much it. Fuel.
Nothing really exciting. It's pretty flat. There's really no changes in the budget anywhere.
What about on the rent for the building? That in there?
No, we
See, you got
it is currently being paid for by FEMA. And we just submitted a second request for another 6 months. And we anticipate that being funded. They just sent us a check for $105,000, I think, which will cover us probably through May or June, and we should get that other 6 month extension. And I would hope by that point we'd be back in our building, but we do have an option for a second 6 months if we have to extend it beyond that.
You're gonna get down to
But our-
building, redoing the building later on in the budget.
Tom, no, that's a separate capital project, so it won't be in your annual operating budget. We anticipate FEMA paying 100% of those costs, so.
So currently in the budget, there's not line items to show us paying the rent of the trailers and then having that reimbursed by FEMA. It's,
Now, that's in your capital project ordinances. And they extend, from year to year. This is just a single budget where your capital projects, can carry over several years. Tom, you don't adopt those budgets every year. They stay the same until that project's finished. Unless you get more money and you have to add something back to it, or you have additional expenditures. So any questions on that budget? The next budget is building and grounds. If you turn over to page 49. We put one full-time staff person in this budget as we distributed the employees throughout the budget, and that's a public works technician one, and then you have a part-time person that you've had for several years, and that's for 1,000 hours a year, and that's the guy that picks up the trash and all that stuff in the downtown area, and does a lot of other odd jobs and stuff. So you got one full-time position and one half-time position. The biggest costs in these budgets, if you turn over to page 50. The biggest item is your mowing contract, and that's for all the town properties, the cemetery, and all the other items that we have to maintain and mow, and that budget is currently at $97,500. Who's got it, does that, Jamie?
It's Shelton's lawn maintenance. He does both. He's actually done it for years, probably 4 or 5 years now. He's never increased on his contract, but he does, the only thing we mow is the ball field at this point. He does all of the right of way mowing, at the 4 ways. He does all the town mowing, basically. He does up here. He also does through the winter at the graveyards, picking up sticks, removing leaves and things of that nature. We used to use First Ink, but it got to be such a problem. I was getting complaints around the holidays where people were coming and the graveyard it's a lot to maintain a graveyard.
I didn't realize that we were responsible for that
Yeah,
We were responsible for a portion of the.
portion.
yeah, not the whole thing. Just the town part. It's on each side of the road.
Yep.
It's on each side.
It's on
Yeah.
each side. There's actually 2 sections of it.
Sign there that says-
Majority of it is on the north side.
That's right, yeah. But it's a lot of upkeep. I found that out when we were doing it, that it's, if you don't keep it clean and looking good, it can cause you a lot of heartache, and I ain't had a complaint in 4 or 5 years, so very pleased with that work. I did obtain 3 quotes with that contract, and that was the cheapest one. The rest of them were over $112,000, $115,000. So, and that, like I say, that's been 4 or 5 years ago. I'd hate to know what it is now.
But, you notice also, we got a lot of portable toilets that we're having to pay for, especially like at Veterans Park. We've estimated that, at about $990 a month for 9 months, which is almost $9,000 for that cost. So hopefully once we get the bathrooms completed at that part, that'll go away. But, we're still a long ways from getting that done. We're still arguing with FEMA over replacement versus fixing what's there. And you can't fix what's there because it's in the actual floodplain. So if you look at your floodplain ordinance and the national flood insurance standards, you got to elevate. So we're still going through that battle with FEMA on that. So we don't know when that'll take place, but you got to have toilets. Just general maintenance and everything. Most of the building maintenance comes out of this budget. She'll notice about 2/3 of the way down on page 50, we've estimated about $30,000. We got a lot of things we need to do this year to, sort of upkeep the buildings and everything. Then you had a question, Mayor?
Yeah. Community garden pest control. Tree removal. What is that?
What's red about the portable toilets?
Contract.
So this is an interesting budget because it's sort of a shared budget between me and Parks. That may have been something that Josh Henderson approved when he was here. Like Jacob, me and him have talked in the past week or so since he started about, we got to be real hand in hand about where we spend the money and what projects, or we had to communicate a lot. So I really can't answer that about that might be something Leonora can speak to that she had done down there, but,
Bait trapped there before, that's probably what the pest control is. It's been a couple of years since I've had that conversation, but, yeah, I'd be curious to know if the tree removal is a one-time.
think it is.
it should have been, because I had some trees took down there last year, so.
Yeah, we'll find that out for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I know tree removal is expensive and we still have a lot of trees that are
Oh, yeah.
needing attention throughout town, but.
And it's a big expense.
So, Leonora had discussed that with me. It took me a minute to realize what it was, but I'm pretty sure that is tree trimming, not tree removal. Because a lot of the branches are encroaching over the garden, causing the ability to grow suns. So I believe that's what that is.
And so, I mean, that really is tree trimming specific to the community garden, not
I
throughout
think,
other
yeah, I
parts of
think
the
so.
areas.
I think it encompasses the community garden and also like the surrounding south end of Veterans Park.
Okay,
That's
Yeah, we had actually talked yesterday about, when he gets more settled and with the job and stuff, we actually talked about, cleaning this up even more than what it is now.
yeah, I don't want to get too far into the weeds
Yeah.
today on this, but I would say like,
That's right.
I hope there's good conversation about who are we contracting with to do tree trimming and, whatever. And is that happening throughout town and?
Well, I'll give you a quick example. We were doing a stormwater project at the golf course. The guy comes and wants 75 or 85. Matt can tell me it's like $8,500 to take one tree down. I about passed out. So Matt come to me and says, "Hey, is this a good price?" I think Richard wanted Matt to come to me and asked, and so I could have got it done for $3,000, and it was in the front yard between two houses. But it was really nothing that a good tree guy. That was just way too much money to take a tree down. But if you didn't know, you'd say, "Oh yeah, we'll pay it." So you got to watch out for stuff like
And
that.
we ended up not taking it down.
Right, and ended up didn't even have to take it down at all. So.
Yeah, but you gotta be careful when you're looking at your prices.
Mhm.
And after that, there's not really any extensive, budget cost in this budget other than your mowing contract and your building maintenance, supplies and all that. Now, like Jamie said, this one kind of covers his buildings and all, town hall and everything else, and parks, and rec buildings also. It's kind of all combined in this one budget. They kind of share those costs. Any questions on that budget? If you turn over to page 54. Again, these are all the streets and highway and general public works employees. Again, these are split half between the general fund and half between the water fund and everything. One thing I would note here, you're showing a career ladder salary adjustments. When that number shows up in this budget, shows up in the fire department budget, and it shows up in the PD budget. That's basically kind of like if you have a public works tech, one that he goes to school and gets his certifications and everything is required, and he can move up to a public works tech too. That's what covers that additional cost. It's based on, certain job restrictions, certain educational requirements, certain things they have to do to, move from a level one to a level two.
So the 10,000 represents just anticipating some
Pay
increase over the
increase,
year. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's not, that's not specific. That's a loose figure to represent.
That's right, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. But and if you don't have anybody that's, that has taken the necessary classes and certification, you won't pay
That would
anything.
replace it.
So,
Yeah, thank you.
Turning over to page 55, we currently, you have a street sweeping contract. That's at $600 a month and $7,200 a year. Since we don't have a bucket truck anymore, I'm ready to pay the city of Marion to put the Christmas decorations up, take the Christmas decorations down. Once we settle with FEMA, and our, insurance company, we hope we'll have enough funds to replace that bucket truck. We're not quite there yet. We don't have all of our numbers together. We got a couple of pickup trucks we still had to replace. We got a dump truck we still had to replace, but we're getting a lot closer to finally getting to those final numbers and everything. Again, fuel, we budgeted $10,000 last year. We think it's gonna take about $17,000 next year if we look on page 56. Something else to consider. If you look under public transportation expense, you're currently paying the Black Mountain Trail Blazer Mountain Mobility Services, I guess, for special transportation at $24,000 a year, and you're paying the city of Asheville for the bus 170 that comes into town and goes back forth to Asheville, and that's at $26,000. So both of those total are about $50,625, and the Asheville budget actually went up this year. They had a slight increase in that cost.
So that particular one there, that is what we pay, all the individuals in Black Mountain pay that. I think it's what, $10, and that what each of us are paying.
I'm not sure what you pay if you get on the bus.
No, I'm talking about that that we as individuals, that's the way that started out. Started out at $5.
Yeah.
That was tacked on, now it looks like that it's obviously gone up. What is the actual fee that the citizens pay now? Because that money comes in and then we
Yeah, I
send
think
it
you're
back
still
out.
paying the $10 per vehicle.
It's on a vehicle tax, yes.
Yeah. But it's not really designated in your budget where that goes. You may have started using that to pay this, but it just kind of molds into your regular budget thing.
We're receiving the $10 per vehicle that comes in. And so that fee, what we're collecting, is equal to the amount we're having to pay Asheville. Well, we supplementing that.
I expect you're supplementing. Yeah, let's look right quick.
I think you're.
If you'll go back to page 11. And about the fifth line item, it says motor vehicle, additional municipal tax, that's your $10 fee. And it's currently bringing in about $42,000 a year. And you're spending,
We're making money off of that.
I know you're losing money.
Losing money.
About $8,000.
That we.
You're bringing in 42.
Bringing in 42, but
We're
you're
going
paying
out.
58
Paying out.
for both Mountain Mobility and the bus line.
Wait.
42 in and 50 out.
Okay,
When you
Now,
include,
Page 11, you're bringing in
So-
42,000.
just a second. So that this vehicle, so this tax that we're putting on vehicles of $10 is bringing in 42.
Yes.
We're using that also for the Trailblazer. I thought it was just strictly for the bus system.
That I don't know. I mean, you've been paying both of those for the last few
Yeah, I
years.
just
So
don't know, when I was on the board for mayor, it was just for the city bus route system. I don't ever remember us talking about the Trailblazer system.
and I couldn't even tell you what that is. I mean,
Mountain
Y'all may
mobility
know.
It's
takes,
mountain mobility.
yeah, it takes folks to appointments or
Okay.
that have mobility
Yeah.
challenges.
It's a good service.
It's a
Yeah.
great
It's,
service.
but I just wanted, this is something here that this is new to me, that we were paying for that.
Yeah.
So we're having to supplement this at 8,000.
I mean, that's why we're showing you all this, because you need to know what's in this
Absolutely.
budget. When you start making difficult decisions, you need to
It
know.
may
what
have
you're
been,
paying
it
for.
may have been mentioned last year, but I cannot recall it.
No.
I think, I think, I can't speak to the Trailblazer, but on the bus system, the city of Asheville is the contracting entity for the region for those transportation
Right.
funds. But they have to match it, about 20%. And that's where that came from. That ask came from the city of Asheville for us to participate some in it because they were carrying the entire,
Yeah.
the entire 20% match.
And you,
And it could be that the county has a match with the funds for, mountain mobility.
yeah,
And then they're seeking ways to get everybody to buy into it a little bit, which if you could see the numbers, you might feel more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But I do remember the city of Asheville, it was like, yeah, you need to, if you want it, you probably need to have some buy-in in it.
and you got one bus stop, which is at the Circle K.
I thought.
Is that the only one?
We have
We
two.
got one down on 70.
There's one on 70
Yeah.
and the one at Circle K.
There's a couple bus stops. Yeah, there's, you can pick it up by CVS, and then you can pick it up.
The Eagles warehouse and then like closer in.
Yeah, Circle K, we just redid that one.
Yeah.
They
Completely, yeah. Yeah, we pulled the pad for it.
They could be used more, but they
Yeah.
get used.
Yeah.
And I definitely see mountain mobility around it. And there's a lot of folks here that,
I just wanted to get clarity on that.
Yeah.
yeah.
And you look at the bottom of page 56, we do have some trucks. There was a truck used by Parks and Rec. It got destroyed in the flood, so they're kind of begging and borrowing right now. The bucket truck, it's just an expensive item, but you want to replace that.
So are we gonna be looking to get a bucket truck new, or are we gonna be trying to get a bucket truck that we could get used?
I think that would depend on how much money we get from our.
Because I'd say for them, we don't use it that much.
Yeah,
And
when
so
I
that we
quoted
don't
it, I
need to
quoted
I
it.
wouldn't say we needed a brand new bucket truck.
The one we had, it was destroyed in the flood, but we wasn't using it anyway. We was spending so much maintenance wise
Right.
on it. I made the
It had a
decision
bunch of issues.
to
I remember
park
us
it
talking about it.
because we were spending more on it than what the truck was worth. So we were really without one. I wanted to put that in there. I put it in there every year because I don't intend on getting it because the budget's the way it is. But if you don't know we need it, then it ain't fair to y'all to know what we need.
It needs to be, you need to keep.
Yeah, we probably
Yeah.
would buy used.
Yeah.
That's probably about all we're gonna get out of insurance anyway, is enough to buy something used.
And the only other,
Still somewhere we could hear.
yeah, Matt, and Claire.
In batches, I'm remembering some
It
other
does.
batches that.
We have meetings periodically and,
And you bought garbage trucks and you spent more than you got from the insurance on garbage trucks. It took like $100,000. We're still trying to put all those pieces together and see exactly what we have left.
So-
This, 2026 F-350. To replace, for Parks and Rec.
Mhm.
Big truck. We really need an F-350 to.
well, it carries
Parks.
we could probably get by with a 250, but for the money difference, it's only like $1,000 difference. But you got trash, you got all of our utility, all our supplies, all our cleaning, pressure washers. It carries everything. It's got a utility
I
bed.
carry stuff like that for my apartments, stuff in a regular F-150. I just don't see why we need to have such a super big vehicle for,
We can-
for moving stuff and I just think that's the kind of stuff we need to be looking at.
And we're just giving you numbers right now.
Right,
We gotta bring it back to you.
It's already,
Well, like the truck on the bottom, that's,
We got 0 in there right now, so.
that truck on the bottom, actually, that's a little bit of a misprint. I think Richard may have misunderstood me when we went through the budget. That truck's actually being used right now by Parks and Rec. They didn't have a vehicle and that was a hand-me-down. They're still using it. But the reason I need to replace it is because that was the truck that we used to put the sprayer in the back when we sprayed the roads in the wintertime. Which was just a regular cab pickup truck on wheelbase, so, but it's still in use right now. It just don't belong in my department anymore.
And then turning over to page 57, I mentioned to you yesterday, I started out with $500,000 for additional money for streets and sidewalks, and you notice to the right, it says 0 now, so. I mean, I think you do need to start thinking about some additional funding for your streets and your sidewalks, because, Powell bill just isn't gonna make it over the next few years. You don't see much of an increase from year to year. The costs continue to go up.
I mean, we've been prioritizing that last several budgets, maybe not last year, but or this year, but.
Any questions?
It's some last year.
We might have.
I think I
We did a little, yeah.
pled the case
Yeah.
last year and got something in there, but yeah, that's a mess.
Yeah, that's, Powell bill don't go up, but that was sort of what we talked about taking over new roads and stuff. You're taking over maintenance and you have to pave it in the future, but you're not getting any more money for it.
It's roll over, or do we have to use it within the year that it's allocated for? Or that is.
It rolls over, but they want you to use it.
Sure.
You got a separate fund balance that you keep that money in.
Okay. I'm just thinking, I know it really limits the projects that we can take on with just that small amount of money that comes from Powell bill, and just was curious if we can kind of save it up and squish that.
Powell bill, if you go beyond 10 years worth of your funding, they'll start asking
I
why.
don't think we have 10 years safe. I don't think we're in trouble for that.
And
You're pretty safe right now.
Okay,
You're not gonna get 10 years, so.
Yeah, I mean, we might need to use it this year, I understand, but I'm thinking strategically about,
Well, we can
if we're
use it
gonna
for
add more funds to it, we just-
salt and sand, you can use it for engineering
Okay.
and streets. You can use it for some stormwater stuff. It's only specific stuff, like you can use it for channel street sign, like regulation street signs, like stop signs and stuff, but you can't use it for name street signs.
But there's paving that we.
That's right, and you know as well as I do,
that's where most of it
$250,000 for
goes.
paving don't go nowhere.
All right,
Well, you got any more questions on streets and highways? You turn over to page 59. We had 9 employees in the sanitation budget. When you adopted last year's budget, they only budgeted for 8. So that's something, that's just another, thing that got missed that you gotta pay for this year, because you got 9 people, but.
Amazing how that was conveniently left out.
Well, I think it was just an error, but. Yeah, when I say when you're splitting, 15 people between 5
Multiple different.
budgets, it's not hard to lose somebody, so. On page 60. The disposal fees, we budgeted $180,000 last year. We think we're gonna end up at 240, 250 this year before June 30th. So we've budgeted $245,000 next year.
Is there besides general cost of everything, reason that this tip fees or whatever they call them, right? But why they would have gone up? That's a pretty good percentage of the year.
I think you just got
You know
more
anything
people.
about it? You know anything about it, James?
It may have something to do with the lien.
With
I
a
don't-
lot,
with Helene, you know, taking in so much, I don't know that, just the processing of all the wood and stuff that they're having to grind and nowhere to get rid of it. I know we got different places that we dump. One of them we had to quit dumping that because they were getting full and they cut us off. So now we're having to go, you know, we got different dump sites. We got
For debris.
for debris and then sanitation too. We got different sites and it just depends on what we take. We try to go to the closest ones because there's a time limit on when you can get in. And if, you know, if we go to the landfill, it's a 2 hour, hard as you can go, maybe a little more. And the truck packs out. If a truck packs out and then you gotta go and you still got stops on the ground here, you can't get back in time
yeah,
to finish up.
So,
But as far as that cost, really don't know.
yeah, it could be the link, but you know, it's like numerous things in the budget. The county just says,
Yeah.
here you go,
That's right.
and this is what it's gonna cost.
And you got more houses that have been built, so you know, it's
Yeah.
more trash.
Yeah,
that you
well,
gotta
that's
pick up.
true, that's true, that's true.
I think it's just the massive increase of what they're taking in would be my,
Jamie,
Yeah, it's probably is likely that is the case.
And we got an issue with leaves now, because they won't take them at the,
well, I've got with staff too, and we'll be bringing you something within this new budget to present to you. You know, since we've been doing this will be our 5th year in October since we started, and there's a lot of things I think will help us on cost. And one of them is, you know, we go to these same places every single week that have piles of brush.
Yeah.
And we're like, where does it come from? I mean, you got a pile of pine brush, but when you look at the lot, there's not even a pine tree on the property.
Mhm.
And there's not enough staff to just ride around and check these places, but it's happening. And so I won't get too far in the weeds with it, but you know, we may come with some different limits about.
One thing I've heard that pretty much,
Since we started.
yeah.
Since we started.
And it's, you know, and
Never
it's
stopped.
Yeah.
right, and it's seems to be getting worse. I mean, the amount of brush that it's just boom. I know David picked up 110 loads there in a week and a half of just brush, and then you go back and it's piled up again. And my version of it is, I think, you know, John Doe lives in town and he's got a cousin that lives in maybe Swananoa, and he's like, well, just bring your brush up here tonight and they'll pick it up in the morning. I don't know that, but I could see that happening. Something like that's gotta be happening because there's no other way that brush could be getting there.
are there other, you know, when we pick up appliances, we pick up all kinds of bulk items. Are there other items that, you know, we should consider charging for pickup or limiting further?
Yeah, and that's something else that, you know, we're putting together for you to bring to you that, you know, you take like bulk items, you
Mhm.
know, there's no limit on it. So you may show up and, I mean, there was one over here, I won't point out nowhere, but I'll give you an example. We had to take a backhoe
Hmm.
to pick and actually a backhoe and spend an hour over there to load what they had piled out of that place.
Yeah.
So they cleaned the whole place out, put it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there
we
has,
just-
there has to be
We
responsibility.
gotta tighten up on some rules.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe some fees. I mean, it ain't that we won't pick it up, but if you're gonna put out over a certain amount,
Sure.
Right.
then you should be
Yeah.
charged for it.
That makes total sense. And honestly, I mean, first,
Have some guidelines now.
Yeah, we do got some
We have
guidelines,
some.
but
I
that
just
we
don't-
need
I
to
don't think they're
have
keeping up
better
with what
guidelines.
they're-
Yeah, I mean, if you
Demand.
put out that,
pretty much if you put your house out there, we'll pick it up.
yeah, that's right, I mean, that's
You know,
not.
we got stuff like we don't pick up lawnmowers, don't pick up toilets, we don't pick up building materials. You know, I can keep going, but we need to set amounts and times and
Yeah.
how much we pick up,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
also, I mean, I think as someone who has used both brush and bulk pickup, you know, myself, it's very nice to have that, but you know, I would pay a fee, you know,
Mhm.
because that doesn't seem unreasonable to me.
Right now, we pay a lot of money to get rid of this stuff.
Yes, and I
Well,
think we should consider looking at
yeah.
that.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a good call. Though, to play devil's advocate just for a moment, I do think when you charge people and they don't want to pay it, there's always a risk that they're gonna go dump it in the nearest
Mhm.
gulch or area, which will never
Yeah.
be tied to them. And that
That's true.
that
That's true.
could be a problem.
Well, we got one of those sites right now. If you go under the bridge or the interstate on Blue Ridge Road, right there on the right, I'm gonna have to put a no dumping sign right there because every week somebody's throwing stuff out.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think we all know spot screen, drive by and you go,
if you think back over at, the ball fields, that dumpster used to sit way back in the back and there's a gate back there. That dumpster used to set out in one of the parking lots. And if you remember, there used to be big boulders and, phone poles there. And the reason that happened is we put those there to throw away the trash, but once the public seen it, they was couches and mattresses, and even after we got rid of the dumpster, they continued to dump there for a long time.
Yeah,
I know you remember that.
I remember. We
Yeah.
talked about it for a long time.
Yeah,
tricky.
it
If
is.
you're looking in here, I see what it says Brown Cattle Company. I assume that's Tom Brown's farm.
That's right, yeah.
And then 365 grading, is that Craig's? Highway number 9.
For sale. Yeah, Robbie don't let us dump no more.
Oh, Robbie, you know about that.
He refused to let us dump, so I can't go there no more.
On a positive note, Jamie and his staff did get you a 400 and something, 500 something
Yeah,
$1,000 grant that
Yeah.
will purchase, I think, 2 additional.
two
garbage
additional
trucks.
sanitation trucks.
And will also replace a large number of the containers that you lost.
Yeah, it'll replace a lot of the recycle containers. It'll get us a new mini packer and a new rear loader.
Great.
Where does that come from?
DQ,
Awesome.
yeah, Rochelle.
Y'all just signed up on it, I think, last month.
Yeah.
The month before last.
Yeah, so that was big, and plus we have money left over we had put in there, to put a secure site for the employees for sanitation, that way they have their building and their supplies. But what I looked at it for, we've got that, but what I'd like to do with it is replace the fence around, because all it said is a secure site for them, so the trucks are inside the fence. So that fence is a big cost around that building, and hopefully I can get that paid for through that grant. That was my thought process.
Which one thing I think you're gonna have to consider in the future is the type of receptacle that your citizens use or don't use.
So.
Yeah.
And going back to the bear
For
discussion.
Higher would be
Yes.
the way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Maybe that's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
yeah, it'd be a lot of money to buy those receptacles.
Absolutely.
I think.
Is
Well,
there any issue with on those, on your trucks as far as using the toter that's sold by Lowe's, the bear-proof container? Is that applicable?
as long as it's got that toter handle on it, it'll work.
Okay.
Yeah. I've priced them at different places. Some of them range 250, some of them go all the way up to 400.
Yeah.
I mean, it really just depends on what you get.
Yeah.
The good ones will cost you.
And I have seen it where towns will participate, don't like a 50-50 split. If you want one, you pay half of it and the town pays half of it. So
I'm hoping that that's one of the things that this
that might be an option in the future.
We set up, the town council will set up a bear committee that can bring recommendations like this to the board to consider.
Fuel cost, we're averaging, right now about $3,600 a month, so we don't see that cost going down anytime in the future. If you turn over to page 61, you still have 2 sanitation equipment loans. One you're paying about $95,000 or $96,000 a year, and the other one you're paying about $38,000 a year. And I think one of those goes off August of 27, and the other one goes off in 28. So your 27, 28 budget year, that'll be your last payment on those 2 loans. Since you replaced your trucks with the FEMA, already insurance funds, and you got this grant, you should be good for
Oh, yeah.
trucks for several years.
The light at the end of the sanitation tunnel.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that tunnel's still a couple of years out, so.
Well, and we got some really, really amazing staff right now. So we're blessed in sanitation. They love their job. The gentleman that had the quadruple bypass here just a few weeks ago,
Mhm.
brung his doctor's note. He can come back light duty next month, and in July, he'll be back full time, and he's ready to come now. I'm like, I can't let you come now, but
Yeah, he's itching.
I love his, desire to work. I mean, they're just good people, so very blessed.
Any questions on the sanitation budget?
Just quickly, what is do you have any idea of what county is charging through the contracts? You know, the county has to pay for picking up garbage in the county. And so therefore, what are we looking at per household? Trying to get a comparison to what.
I think it was
all of
24. I
this-
think it was 24 a month last year.
Last year.
I was gonna say 22, but
It might be 22. It was over
It
20.
was over 20, no.
And you're currently at 8.
Yeah.
could we get
Well, yeah,
those?
yeah, but I'm just saying, I mean, we're currently at 8.
Yeah.
We subsidize that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, trying to get so that we've got, what do we got, 4,000 households and businesses that we deal with? That we pick up?
42, 44, I
42,
think,
so,
was the number.
yeah.
All right, let's just,
I know last year when we talked about fees, I know Marion, we were gonna go up, I think, half of what Marion did, and then we cut that in half. So, you know, as far as fees goes, we're pretty much behind, everybody else.
I'm just saying that we're at 1.1 million.
Yeah,
2865 is what the county is paying.
Yeah, I know
That's
it.
I think that's a pretty big jump from last year.
Yep.
I don't remember it being high 20s, so.
I know it was over 20, but,
If we went up $5, it'd be like $250.
So that's $336 a year per household. You go ahead and you multiply that by 4,000. Now you're a little over 1.3 million. So, you know, folks say that we should go ahead and get it bid back out. We can do it for 1.1. That's cheaper than 1.3.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just want y'all to be aware of that because people keep saying, you know, oh, go ahead and let Waste Pro do it or something like that.
I think we have a,
I think we got a better. we do.
I think we're better off, don't
We're
we?
better off right now.
Things have gotten much
I
better.
wish I had the trucks on the
yeah,
list.
that's the only thing.
Yeah, Roy.
That's right. Oh, yeah, which we knowed we would in the beginning,
Yeah.
and, the only thing I could foresee happening if it keeps going like it's going, if we get those 2 trucks, we'll be good for a while. But you know, as these developments come on and
Yeah.
you start picking up more sanitation, the trucks are gonna pack out quicker. So you're gonna have to have another truck and a couple more employees,
Sure.
because if they pack out and then you gotta go dump and come back, you'll never get back into empty that day, so it's gonna jam everything up. So we're gonna have to
Yeah.
think about, you know, in the future, you know, keeping up with employees as we need them. Right now, we're fine.
And some of our staff's hours, that's really dictated by the hours of operations at,
That's right.
That's
They'll
right.
usually start around 7
yeah.
and, it
Our
depends on,
staff
it,
does.
yeah, it depends on what day it is or how
Yeah.
heavy the loads are, but,
Is there conversation about the dumping sites extending their hours?
we've talked to them,
Yeah,
but they won't because of their staff hours and stuff and what time they come in and,
it's always a conversation worth having.
right,
but-
exactly. And, you know, another thing we're running into is these, the leaves, these, bags,
Yeah.
they're not gonna take plastic
Plastic bag.
anymore. And I have talked to them directly and that's causing us a big problem. So one thing we was gonna put together and bring to you, and, I hate to share too much, but because I know this is a budget meeting, but going to the paper bags, the ones that, you know, if they
Yeah.
can do that, they'll take those. If not, staff's gonna have to stand there, and this is no lie. They stood there and cut open over 100 leaf bags at one stop.
It's just not good use
And
of
you
staff.
can't pick them up because you've got 4,200 stops. Of course, leaves ain't 4,200, but if you had half of that, you had 2,500 and they were 25 to 125 bags each stop, you're not getting nothing done. And, that's a
I have
lot.
some ideas, but I'll find you another time.
Okay.
So just this budget comes to at 4,200 stops comes to about $21 per household, right? Per month. we're charging $8
Yeah.
and we're subsidizing the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're gonna have to look at increasing that.
Yeah, I'll make a point just on, if it's covered in my taxes, then that is tax deductible on my income. My federal tax return. If it's a fee, it is not tax deductible. So there's a give and take there.
So you're saying,
Now,
you're
you
saying,
can
you're saying it
itemize,
might be
you're better
beneficial
off
to
with it
increase,
being in your taxes.
like
than
increase the
also
taxes
in
and
a
then,
Fee.
I see.
So,
Let's talk about
Sales tax increase.
If you don't itemize, you don't care, so.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
Just a thought.
It looks like, just to put it in people's head, about a $5 increase is about $250,000.
A $5 increase.
$5 increase.
Where do you, the transfer station, that's no longer there, is it?
It is there,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
they
you
open
still go
back
there.
up, yeah,
You don't have to drive out.
yes, we're just Brevard Road, yeah. It's a little bit,
Fee there.
It's high, but that's the one that.
That's one of the reasons you gotta weigh that against the fact of
Yeah.
fuel and time that you're paying your men to drive out there and come back that you're losing.
Oh, okay, that's a long way out there.
it's a long way and it's, yeah, and you're in that truck packed out at 42,000 pounds, it's over an hour one way. And then you got the DMV guys always pulling trucks down there. It's just a nightmare is what it is. I'm thankful we're out here as close as we are, but,
And they close at 5 at the transfer station.
4:30, you gotta be in by 4:30, yeah.
Open at.
Inside the gates. They'll open, you can be out there 6:30 to dump. You need to get there that early, but,
That's not very helpful for us.
yeah.
Well, the general public can't know there's a transfer station.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
You just gotta wait.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a line.
Yeah.
I've been there when it's not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really handy for us to have that close, cause they can dump and get back and finish the route, but
Can you take, the hazardous stuff, your paint, your stuff that, they only have pickups like a couple of times a month or something? Can you
Now,
take that to the transfer
yeah,
station?
paints and stuff, but they got certain criteria, like you gotta put kitty litter or
Right.
sand in it and dry it up, but yeah,
But it's the
they
same.
won't take, yeah, it's the same,
There's special pickup days of that kind of material.
that's right, they got
Gasoline and stuff.
trailers out there,
Right.
that they separated in, and then they actually haul it to the landfill
Right.
from there.
And they not have hazardous waste collection days where you.
Yeah.
Paying more to dump.
Yeah.
Paint and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you just have one or two cans, they usually don't.
right.
Saying.
Used to, they didn't, and if, like people put stuff in bags like that, there's no way to put leaves in a bag without having sticks and stuff in it, right? But now they actually, Michael was telling me, one of my drivers, he's like, now when you throw them bags out, they're cutting them open. And they told him out there, if you bring any more of that, we're gonna deny you coming. So we gotta do something about those
Yeah.
bags, cause it's gonna create a problem, and fall will be here before we know it.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about that now, so we can get the message out about how we're gonna handle it
Right.
for leaf season.
Of course, we can,
And that's where I need y'all's approval with,
Yeah.
if we use those disposable bags, we'll have to make it, we'll have to make it mandatory, or we won't be able to pick it up.
That's right.
hard decisions to how to raise money is, we can go ahead and raise fees here, we can charge this and charge that, but ultimately, this public's gonna say, well, wait a minute, what am I paying my taxes for?
Yeah. And there's always that argument.
Yeah.
We gotta be careful of that. All right?
No, we figured about an hour and a half on each budget meeting. We've been here since about 8:30. I don't know what your schedule is. We can continue. We got another one next Thursday, I believe. So.
Yeah, same time.
Why don't we at least get through Parks and Rec, maybe?
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you'll turn over to page 64.
Thank you, guys.
Unfortunately, Jacob didn't get here till it was already done, so.
We'll all sit here.
I'm on page 64. You got all of the staff there. We are full staff. The only addition this year is I'm under part-time salaries as an assistant garden manager at 17,982, and that is being entirely paid by someone else. And it is for a year. So that's the reason we got that in this year's budget.
So we have it represented in,
On the income side, you'll
Yeah.
see it in this, it's covered on the expenditure side, and we had to fix it where that's, their donation covered the hours, the social security and everything, so.
wow, that's incredible.
So that's not costing us anything.
I did notice under the recreation salaries, probationary salary increase. I'm not,
Then when you hire somebody new after 6 months, they get I would say a 2.5% or 5% salary increase if they meet all their obligations and everything. So that needs to be in there to cover that.
Look right here.
Not with the David's probationary period.
And I think that's
Oh, yeah.
3.5%. That's what that is.
You're on 65. Oh, yeah.
I think covering this one.
Brian just called out that on 65, there's more tree trimming, community garden.
Yeah, there's another 1,000 there.
And that may
maybe we
be
can get
a
that cleaned up.
duplicate. We'll figure
Yeah, I'll
out.
check with
Let's
Leonore and
check on
see
that
what
one.
that is versus the other one.
I'm under contract services. You got several camps there, the tennis camp and the skateboard lesson, the beginner skateboard lesson, and just miscellaneous funds for anything else.
So those are, I mean, people pay for the camp and for the lessons and stuff like that. So it's batched on the revenue side, right?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know, last time we looked to see if it actually matched or paid 100% of the
Uh-huh.
cost, but that's something we probably ought to be looking at
Yeah.
when recouping our
I'm wondering if we
cost
can
of it.
get an email that shows, this is what we're paying to offer this, and then this is what folks are paying to participate,
Absolutely.
for each of those.
Absolutely. And all those numbers should be stored in rec desk, so that'll be easy to get to you.
Great, yeah, and, yeah, I would imagine that would include pool, swim team and all that too, basketball, adult, kid.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So when I'll ask you to turn over to page 68. And this is where you may have some discretion moving forward. These are all of the special activities you pay for. It's all paid for out of Parks and Recreation. Fireworks, you've already signed that contract for July 4th. And I think I think we pay half of it before when we sign the contract and the other half after the show. So that's 18.5. You got the 5K run, but again, I think the fees you charge for the runners should cover that $5,000.
Yep.
You got park rhythms, I guess is your concerts.
Mhm.
I think they're moving to the lake this year.
Right.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's $15,000. You got your soccer programs and your summer camps and, pickleball and the Halloween. And all these other things.
15,000. What's the expenses there?
So I'm pretty sure that covers like the jerseys, all of those things, but we,
Trophies and
yeah,
Then
trophies.
you got down at the bottom down there, the indoor soccer up 2,000 expecting. So you're saying that it was 13,000 last year?
yeah, it's 15,000 this year.
But that seems to be a lot of money for jerseys.
But you got a lot of kids in that soccer
Yeah.
program.
You got to 150.
Then you got, trophies and I guess some referees, they come out
The
of this.
officials, yeah.
They'd probably come out of the part-time salaries.
Yeah.
But I can get with Colin, and I know he has a list of everything he's spent on it, but I know that brings in a
What's
lot
your
more.
number so that I can call you and break the time that we can go ahead and go over and look at that field?
I'll give that to you after this meeting. I gotta look at the new phone I got. I'm not quite sure. I don't have it memorized yet.
That's pretty much your biggest expenses in the park and rec. Like we said a while ago, they got an old truck from PD or somebody, didn't you?
Oh, we got an Explorer from
Yeah,
PD that
Explorer.
Colin got.
Yeah, and it was already go out and they had to spend several $100s just to get it running. So they do need some, some additional vehicles. Again, we're going through all these vehicles. You remember Matt did a grant application for vehicles, that we should hear from soon. So once we put all that money together, we'll come back.
One thing we need to be looking at, and of course, when I was over the MSD, did that because you had a fleet maintenance committee. That's one of the things we need to consider, because with all the vehicles, I guarantee you, we've probably got over 50, let me get 27, 30 vehicles at the police department. Fun. You got over 50 vehicles, and try to get some kind of a handle on the maintenance of it, on set schedules. And then also too, to be able to rotate those vehicles from where they need to be high maintenance back over towards, let's say, Parks and Rec. That doesn't need as much maintenance on them, it's supposed to be miles and smaller vehicles. Having a super large vehicle is great.
Yeah.
And maybe keep you from having to do a couple of trips. Need to do a double trip one time a year, might have a big vehicle. These are some of the common sense things need to be looking.
And we can have a lot of discussions once we figure out how much money we got. Absolutely. Tom, any other questions on Parks and Rec? Next one will be the pool. You'll do that one right quick.
Yeah.
Turn over to page 71. Just note on salaries, you did increases, last month, but for the upcoming season, so your budget goes from about 81,000 to just over 100,000. So, their hours are all listed there, for, your pool manager, your assistant pool manager, and lifeguards and all that, so. And again, you look through, Parks and Rec, water, golf course and all that, if you make a decision on the credit card fees, you can eliminate some of these costs in your budget. Down at the bottom of page 71, I think there's $2,000 budget. If you eliminate the credit card fees, you can probably take that out of the budget. Technology and software, they are asking for a laptop for the pool manager. Nothing else really expensive there. Repair and maintenance of buildings. We had to replace a pump to open the pool, and I believe I just saw that bill yesterday, and there's almost $5,000 just for a single pump, but you gotta have it to open the pool, so. I think they open this weekend.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So
Fingers crossed.
get your bathing suits out. On page 73, you got your special operating lines at $15,000, and that's for your swim team expenses and trophies and all of those items. And their supplies. And on page 74, they do have one capital item, and that's, it says that the lane lines and reel will need replacement soon, and they've estimated that at about $9,100.
I think we just replaced some out of this last year's budget. I just sent something through for that. I will get with Beth and see if that's
Okay.
all of them, but
Okay.
as far as I was concerned, that's that.
Any questions on the pool? $213,000 for operating costs for your pool, so. Not cheap to run a pool.
What's the revenue it brings in?
Probably not much.
Good luck with that. But you gotta have it.
Yeah, Parks and Recreation is always a loss leader. Pool admissions, you got $72,000. Pool concessions, $15,000
Thank you.
on page 12.
Thank you.
But for a town our size, there's very few people.
But $87,000 is your
A
income.
recreation department.
Yeah, true.
So we're very, very lucky to have that. I mean, we need it, the citizens, there's a lot of benefits.
Yeah.
You know, as-
Absolutely.
As Alice was talking about the benefits of picking up garbage, and we don't find it in the ravines around here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of benefits that are not seen right now, but the police chief can certainly see this, in the fact that if you keep kids occupied, you have less problems.
Yes.
And most towns want to ditch pools if they can, but I think it's an asset. So,
It is beloved, for sure.
yeah. But you got $87,000 worth of income versus, 212,000 of expenditures. So maybe, 40% of your cost you recoup.
It's always been that way. I know when I was running the pool, you were lucky to come up to 50% or whatever. the
Yeah.
cost is.
Again, you can always look at the fees and the admission cost. I mean, as you go through your,
Yeah, we looked at,
fee schedule, you might want to look at that, but.
yeah, we already talked about the salary increases, but we didn't look at fee schedule at the same
Yeah.
time, I believe.
Yeah, and that's probably something we need to get to you, and let
Yeah,
you
can we
look
get the
at.
existing
Yeah,
Numbers,
Absolutely.
yeah, he could jump it during the season.
Yeah, because when you look at fees, there's pretty much fees for everything except
Yeah.
for tennis and pickleball.
yeah.
That's exactly right. I mean, here you get kids that are, little kids that are playing baseball, some of them are cheerleaders, and they're all paying.
Yeah.
But we don't charge anything for tennis. I mean, I just think that it's a time that we consider that.
Mhm.
No, I think just by anybody, just by anything you do now has a fee associated with it. And tennis, I know you charge for tennis, but I guess you got to reserve the court.
Well,
pay
and I
a
think
fee.
about like pickup basketball, you're not gonna charge, but so it is hard to kind of delineate.
Playgrounds, running
Yeah.
around the lake, and there's lots of things that don't have these. So.
Well, I see people out there on the courts, but you have to be mowed on occasion.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Richard, how do you anticipate, we're only halfway through the budget here. How do you anticipate the rest of this?
I think one more budget session, we'll be able to go through all the budgets. I don't think it'll take another hour and a half, couple of hours, and it's, less.
Everybody's okay, once we get through Lakeview, and then that gets a little bit better.
And if you turn over to page 77, you got one full-time person there. You have several part-times. You got a meal site manager, you got the meals site drivers. You got a couple of fitness instructors, so your total part-time budget is about $28,000. All these are up because you didn't, time when it was closed, you didn't have these salaries and things going on. But now that it's open, you're going full speed out there, so,
And we've got those positions all filled, so that's all being done.
Mhm.
yeah. Your cleaning services, you gotta start that back up and pay for those costs. Your electric costs are up again also. The repair and maintenance of building, your program and events expenses are estimated at $4,000. The only question is, you had been setting aside funds. In the event that the, Council on Aging, was unable to pay the full cost of meals. I took that out because you haven't used that in several years, but about a few days ago, we got a note that they may have difficult time this year covering the full cost of the meals. So once we get better numbers on that, that's the money, if you still want to provide that service, that's money you might have to put back in there. We don't have those actual numbers yet. We told them we would have a difficult time making that contribution, but it still may not make any difference to them. They may say, come back and say, well, you gotta pay, X to make, sure this service continues. And I don't think it's anything you want to drop, so.
Let them eat cake.
I believe she got hung over that, didn't she? Or what? I was at the guillotine.
Back on 78, I wanted to ask, I'm not following this note, under contract services, the town manager read about cleaning services. Could you just explain what that means, please?
Your cleaning services are $3,200 a year. You have somebody come in that actually cleans the building, and your pest control is $750. Since you weren't using it last year, you didn't have to pay off those expenses, but now that you're open for time, you gotta cover that cost.
Oh, you're explaining why it's back up. You're not saying that we're only that you're proposing we only contract that through November.
I think the prior year only went through November.
Okay.
And you dropped it because you weren't open stuff.
Thank you.
Go ahead and be thinking about making, Linda, the lady who's in charge.
Mhm.
Fixing her office downstairs. That's all we do. Because if we can do that, then we can rent the place out.
Right.
Y'all put, put them all that on hold,
Well, yeah, I'm not talking about redoing the whole downstairs. I'm just simply saying, if you get her office from upstairs, downstairs, now we can rent the place out.
Well, I think right now.
You can
it's
do
bare
that until you
bones.
get all the other answers on what you can
What
put
you can do downstairs.
Stairs. I mean, I don't think that.
What's that got to do with downstairs?
I mean, it's just studs right now. There's nothing in it, so we'd have to use expenditures towards getting that ready. Even, I don't even know.
Well, I know it's just not there. We're just talking about a place for her to build an office.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking about fixing it up with the super, but just getting her an office. Even if we had to spend $10,000 to do it, we're gonna gain more than that. from the
Right.
rental
Right.
Upstairs, and also too, that is a service to the community. People like to have places that they can go.
Mhm.
Is there not a way for her to have office space upstairs and rent the upstairs out?
So the concern is that her office is out in like the rental space. There's
Right.
nowhere we can move it to where it wouldn't be accessible to the public.
There's not.
I mean, we could
there's not an
drywall.
Affordable temporary way to seal that off to be secure.
Right. I mean, we could look at possibly making something small upstairs, but we can look into that.
I would want, yeah, I do wonder about having some kind of locking cabinet where she could store things and,
Okay.
I don't know. Because it would be great to be able to rent that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't know that I'm prepared to spend $10,000 just for a temporary downstairs fix. If there's something even more affordable we could put together. I still want her to have a functional workspace.
Right.
If there's something that could be packed up Friday afternoon and have ready for weekend rentals, that.
Where our office was before downstairs, just right at the base of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Some simple paneling, throw rug. But better go ahead and probably get a unit on the wall,
Yeah.
a heater for the winter time.
Dehumidifier.
And.
But you gotta do something with the stairs. You gotta have exit lights. I mean, there's all kind of, building regulations that you gotta follow. You can't just go sticking off.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth considering, but I don't think at this point we're at that stage where we should be considering that as of yet. I mean, I'd like to get through all of Richard's presentation before we start, piecemealing what we are and aren't gonna do.
Yeah, but that's all part of Lakeview.
Well,
I don't know when we're gonna talk about it.
well, but we have to look at the totality of the structural deficit. I mean, that's just where I'm at. I'm not saying let's put it off forever. I'm saying we're gonna do this next Thursday.
Well, so Richard, if you wouldn't mind, so you think one more meeting to get through the rest of the budget, and then, I think all of us probably went home
You
thinking
gotta
about things and.
Think about what you
Um,
wanna do.
Yeah, so what would be the next steps as far as, how we,
Our budget next Thursday, I think we can finish what's, presented here.
mhm,
Then I think you need to set, probably one or two more meetings. You need to set a date for your public hearing.
mhm.
But I think you're gonna have to have at least, two meetings to decide what your options are, what you're gonna raise and what you're not gonna raise, what you're gonna cut.
I think that needs to be done before we have.
Yeah, you gotta do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the hearing should be on the final.
Yes.
Right.
I expect your public hearing should be closer to the end of June. We're gonna have some significant budget adjustments on or near the last of June. So that we can finish this year's budget in balance. So there's definitely gonna be a need for a meeting as close to the end of the month as possible.
Would it be helpful, like, if we have thoughts on the budget already, I mean, would it be helpful for us to send this to
Yeah,
you?
if you would, please.
Mhm.
When I got out last night about 1 o'clock, couldn't get back to sleep, so I was thinking, okay, what can I do? What can I do with that?
Mm.
Time at 4:30, when it came time to go to the gym, I was still awake, so. Yeah. And my mind just started turning, I couldn't turn it off, so.
Yeah, we're in Quagmire here. Ain't no question, it's gonna be a tax increase. Unless we wanna start cutting a lot of positions.
Yeah.
Very true.
Lincoln, I don't know if you've seen them in the newspaper, but that county changed the sales tax formula. And it cost Lincoln about $2 million, so they're cutting firemen, they're cutting policemen. This is just.
Well, I mean, we may have to do the same.
If it's county sets that right formula for you, they get to choose and they keep looking at it, and when if it flips and it becomes more favorable to based on the tax rate versus the population, they'll flip it on you. That's their choice, but.
Can you go ahead and make sure that we know what the tax rates are on the other 5 municipalities in the county, please?
Yeah, I'm heard, Asheville's at about 4 cents.
Yeah.
I think.
But I mean, what-
Something's
We can
about
like that.
4 cents.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
what
we
the
can get
president
that in
said,
the
yeah.
cards, that'd be great. I'm gonna have to excuse myself.
We get that. Like on Woodson, even though they're low,
Yeah,
they contract with the city council for fire protection.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we'll get that for you.
anything else?
That's increased off the.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Nick.